Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Meredith Lego, and my channel is on Ascension Science, or the expansion of consciousness. And today I actually want to share an experience that I had, which kind of put me out of commission for a couple weeks, and probably will for a couple more weeks, in the sense that I broke my arm as part of the process. But I think it was a good experience that I wanted to share with you on the idea of healing the inner shadow. And so to back up, one of the things that oftentimes I do from time to time is, I'll go into meditation, as I've talked through previously on the channel, and essentially ask questions of what I can do to continue to heal different aspects of myself. And when I was meditating in two kind of repetitive points in the day, so one was in the morning and then one was a little bit later in the morning, I basically got a message that essentially the souls, if you were on Earth, so many souls on Earth, were being recycled. So the idea is that we've talked through in previous video, or I shared in previous videos, from channelings, or let's say connections that I've been able to do with extra intradimensional beings, that essentially there is a reincarnational process. We go through life starting to create almost like a soul plan for an incarnation, and then have the intention of fulfilling that purpose. So essentially what I heard during that process is that there's a recycling going on. But what I took away from that was that, there's supposed to be sort of like this natural energetic transmutation process that happens. So energy never dies, so it simply transmutes. That naturally will happen for consciousness as in a soul, as it continues to as it continues to ascend and expand in consciousness. But what I got the sense of with this particular message is that there has been an effort in which I guess you could say souls have been more trapped into a closed recycling process, which has been unnatural. And that's been happening on Earth. So as I heard that, I was actually shown an image of essentially a portal gate, if you will, that exists just outside of Earth, that essentially looked like a triangle tube. It was probably about 5 miles. I don't know. It's hard when you kind of place it up against the whole planet, but it looked like, maybe it was 100 miles. I don't know, but it was like a triangle, and there was a tube in the middle, an open space. And essentially I saw souls kind of going through this portal. And I'm not sure if that meant as a way to liberate that process, or that was a mechanism in which, the recycling was essentially happening. But as I was seeing this, I heard basically my higher self basically say, make me whole, continue to make me whole. So when I heard the message, make me whole, I knew that was basically continuing to heal different fragmented pieces of basically the larger soul, if you will, the larger consciousness that had essentially fragmented off over millions of years, if you will, over kind of linear time. So essentially the message was, make me whole. And I've been in a journey probably since 2019, 2020 to really focus on trying to remember any pieces of past incarnations, of the kind of collective consciousness of, the group that I'm a part of, essentially to work on healing those aspects. So then later in the morning, I was doing another meditation, and essentially actually asked, what is the most, how did I frame the question? It was essentially, what is the most wounded, if you will, or wounded, fragmented piece of the soul group that needs the most healing? So that was the question. Like, I wanted to see, what was the one side of, a life that either I've lived or is kind of in the soul cluster, if you will, that really, needs a lot of help and healing, and was immediately shown basically a man that, it could have been anywhere really, but it looked like it was in the past, looked like it was probably in Africa in some place, but it was essentially a man who kind of had very wild hair, but was, running around with a knife, a very large knife, essentially chopping off hands, if you will. So, this was an individual who was inflicting a lot of harm on others. Not sure, the driver for the harm. I'm not sure if it was kind of a mental illness or if it was, some driver of fear and control. I got the sense more that it was, somebody who was trying to drive fear and control into other, groups. I don't think it was due to warring or battle, but it was more of, just somebody who I guess was, again, just trying to drive fear and control into other, maybe tribes in the area or something like that. So, I was like, ooh, that's not a very fun life to have obviously either gone through or been part of the soul cluster, but obviously that being or that fractal or kind of shard of consciousness clearly needs some healing. So I think just in the witnessing of that, I was able to see kind of that wounding, the fact that that particular piece needs to be healed. But what was also interesting is that as I was starting to kind of observe that, I also was shown that there's a connection between that that being or that piece of consciousness that has gone around and unfortunately created a lot of harm to other beings at that particular space time, if you will, with the fact that I personally in this incarnation have broken my arms. Now it would be the fourth time. So different arms, a couple times each, but essentially I keep breaking arms. And it could be that this is essentially the law of cause and effect playing out, in which, I'm taking the burden, if you will, for past life, either choices and or for the soul cluster in order to take on that healing. So, essentially I broke an arm yet again, and it was kind of as soon as I saw what needed to be healed, went through the experience then of kind of breaking the arm, going through an understanding yet again of what it means to be without your hand or the use of your hand. So I'm not saying that, everybody goes through things like this, but, it was certainly a good lesson on, why certain things could be happening in your life, and taking total ownership or accountability for all the challenges that you face. And essentially trying to make the most of them, taking a step back and assessing, what am I learning through this experience? So certainly, I was shown a vision that there's a direct connection between that particular being, that particular consciousness life, and what I was about to go through, in terms of a cause and effect, kind of closing the loop. But also, there's a lot of opportunity for me to think through, gee, now that I can't use my hand, what do I need to reflect on, what I can learn through this experience? And for me, it's learning to delegate. So there's a lot of other things that I'm learning to go through. So anyway, I wanted to, I know it's more personal to my experience, but I wanted to share that with you kind of as a great example of, some things that can happen as you're starting to do healing, around different aspects of your consciousness. And some of them might be more known to you, like you've had, kind of a tough experience in the past or a bad relationship, and you're just trying to heal that particular, emotion that you might have built up inside of you, and you're trying to move on from that or heal a relationship with another person. That's something that's more conscious inside of your awareness of what the root cause was. In this particular case, I've been on a journey the last 3 years to go deeper into essentially past lives and help heal those aspects as well. So this was a diving into shadow side, which is, hey, I have to assume that if there's been lots of incarnations, I've seen many where I've been a victim and have worked on healing that. But I have to assume that there's also been many where I've actually victimized others, and I haven't seen a lot of those. But one showed up for me a couple weeks ago. So it was a good lesson on everything that consciousness can do on the journey or evolution through essentially achieving higher consciousness. So with that, again, I wanted to share it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And I will continue to share more of my learnings, as well as more teachings that I get from other beings in future videos. So thanks very much for watching. Bye.